I went back to the home of this hostess who was hosting all of the diplomats from Africa. And actually, I was the only Christian in the entire room. They were all Muslims. The only two people that were Christians in the room were my hostess friend and her husband, who at that time were nominal Christians, not even walking in the baptism of the Holy Spirit. So they sat me down. Oh, this just embarrassed the tar out of me. They sat me down next to the president of a nation, and part of what they were supposed to do, everybody was supposed to stand up and share what were the needs from their nation so that we could become the meter of their needs. Whatever their needs were, we were going to help provide those needs. I was sitting next to this one. So I'm sitting next to this president of this African nation, and he stands up and he says, you know, we really, really need prayers for our nation. We're sandwiched in between the warfare between Morocco and Algeria. And he said the bloodshed in our nation is so bad that in the last 3 years we've had 3.5 million martyrs. I went, and I flew out of my seat. I hit the chandelier. All the lights started going. The lady that was sitting next to me fell out of her chair on the floor because it scared her so bad. And I'm going, zip, 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 zip. This guy looked at me, and I burst into profuse weeping. And I'm weeping, and I'm sobbing, and I'm crying. Snot's running out of my nose. All my makeup and all my mascara running down my cheek. I'm crying so hard. And I turned to the head of this nation, and I said, sir, it must be an extremely, extremely difficult task to have to govern a people that are in so much bloodshed and so much torment. Would you allow me the privilege of praying for you? Now, which one of you men can say no to a weeping woman? This is a Muslim leader, okay? And at that time, I didn't know anything about Islam. Now I know a whole lot about it. But at that time, I didn't know anything about Islam. So the first thing I did was totally taboo. I stood up and put my hand on a Muslim president. When I put my hand on his shoulder, of course, that's really a no-no. I put my hand on his shoulder, and all of a sudden, these things just welled up. Oh, God, you said for this purpose, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to bind up the brokenhearted and set at liberty of people that are wounded. And I lift up a broken, wounded, bruised people. And I just ask you, Lord, to send the spirit of wisdom, the spirit of knowledge, the spirit of understanding. And I'm talking to this guy. All of a sudden, the entire table of Muslim leaders burst into tears. The windows actually started to shake, and the owner of the house was looking around like, is she going to break every window in this house or what? By the time I got done with the prayer, the man stood up. Now, any of you who know anything about Islam know this is totally impossible. He stood up and embraced me and buried his head in my chest and weeping and crying. So I said to him, the Spirit of the Lord wants me to tell you, God has heard, not my prayer, your prayer. And as a result of that, he's going to send somebody in 3 days that's going to stop the bloodshed in your nation, and he's going to negotiate a peace to the war, and all that bloodshed is going to stop. In 3 days, he's going to be sent. Well, 3 days later, guess what happened? The U.S. sent an ambassador to negotiate a peace, and all of the bloodshed in their nation stopped. 1 month later, I was in that same house again, and this time we have all the African ambassadors and many of the diplomats sitting around downstairs, and this time the entertainment was we were going to have karaoke, okay? And all of the leaders were supposed to stand up and sing a karaoke folk song from their own home. So anyway, this guy just happened to be in Washington, D.C. So he walks up to the karaoke machine and he says, before we start our karaoke tonight, I want to give a testimony about this woman. He said, she said that the Lord was going to send somebody in 3 days to stop the bloodshed in my land, and it happened exactly like she said. So if you're a leader of your nation and you have problems in your nation, get up right now and line up down the wall and have this lady pray for you.